Hey everybody. Wow, been a while since I've been back on this from, huh? Um, I'm here to talk about Star Wars. For the next few Fridays, I'm going to be talking about the original trilogy. No, not 1, 2, and 3. I'm not going to be talking about those movies. Um, Sorry for people who like those movies. I passionately dislike those movies. If you would like to see what I would have to say about 1, 2, and 3, that is the Phantom Menace, the Clone Wars, and the Revenge of the Sith. Excuse me, getting ahead of myself. If you want to hear what I think about those movies, just check out the Red Letter Media reviews because they're about as long as the movies anyway. And like, if you're gonna want to get like a full thrashing of them, that's what I recommend. Whatever they say is probably what I'm going to say. So yeah. So sorry, I'm not going to look at the prequels because I don't like the prequels, and I wouldn't sit through them unless I had friends to sit through them with me, and we could experience the pain together and make fun of the movie. And even then, I'd probably just record us making fun of the movie. So this is me being pompous and holier than thou. I'm totally aware of that, and I'm very much fine with that. So anyway, let's get into this. We're going to talk about Star Wars 4. Star Wars 4, that sounds weird, huh? Star Wars A New Hope. Um, so I took some notes during the movie. I discovered most way through the movie that I don't really have a lot to say about it. I guess as a film, it's not saying a lot terribly too much. I mean, when you get down to it, Star Wars is just a space western film, right? It's meshing a lot of sort of old school sort of Knights of the Round Table medieval stuff with western esque things via Han Solo. Also, you have the hero's journey going on with Luke, and then you also have, obviously it's set in space for a lot of the movie anyway. Um, so yeah, there's not. It's not really. I mean, there's some themes, right? So obviously there are many themes that you can draw from the broader Star Wars universe. But looking at these films individually, at least for me, I didn't really think of too much except technology versus magic. This is a very prevalent theme. I would dare say one of the very few explicit themes, as explicit anyway as George Lucas made it at the time, in the movie. You have to keep in mind also Lucas, when he was making this film, wasn't exactly trying to. He was really trying to get his film off the ground. He wasn't so much into making a big film with big philosophical statements. He was just hoping he'd be able to pay all the actors. I think Harrison Ford got like $1,000 a week and at first declined, but then decided to go with it. So it's not really trying to say a whole bunch, but I think that's okay. I mean, I think Star Wars has been so built up in our culture that it's hard not to look at this film and say, well, there has to be more. I don't know. I mean, there's definitely a lot going on in this film, but not a lot of it's. I think it's hard to look at it a single one of these films. Sorry, a single one of these films. A single film in the trilogy, in the original trilogy, and come away with, I don't know, too terribly much in terms of intellectual discourse. I think there's a lot in the Star Wars culture, especially in the expanded universe, which I'm not an expert on, so I will not be commenting. But there's a lot of few funny things I noticed, like C-3PO during the beginning. By the way, C-3PO has the first line in all of Star Wars, which I was wondering, like, who has the first line of all of Star Wars? Because I couldn't remember. And it was C-3PO, and he's like, one of his first lines is "This is madness," which was very funny to me. So C-3PO said it first. Also, C-3PO is kind of a dick. I don't know if anybody noticed that, but he's just so narcissistic and like when he rescues R2D2, he's like, you know, I hope you never forget this. Why I save you is beyond me. And obviously he does care about R2D2, but he's not great. Such a nice guy, really. Even though he and R2D2 are like our protagonists towards the beginning. Um, but yeah, Han is definitely a favorite. Sometimes antisocial, always anti-fascist is one of my favorite little images that has Han Solo going on. And Leia, I mean, Leia just kicks ass. I don't feel like I need to go over what Star Wars is about. If you don't know what Star Wars is about, I don't know where you've been. But I'll humor someone out there and just say it's a space western, 1970s film about a hero's journey where a guy tries to save a princess from essentially a dark wizard who who basically is trying to destroy a rebel alliance. There are some politics going on, like They casually mention that the Imperial Senate just gets disbarred, not disbarred. I don't want to say dismembered. Basically, gets disestablished by the Emperor partway through the film. So there's some politics going on here, but not too terribly much. Other things that I noticed, I really love the Han Solo aesthetic that he has. He's kind of like a cool scoundrel. He's your typical scoundrel with a heart of gold kind of thing that he's got going on. And it really works for him. Although I think it's probably encouraged a little bit too much like womanizing on the part of men. Like Han Solo isn't exactly a representative good guy. He's like an anti-hero, right? I mean, he's got a heart of gold somewhere, but he's not necessarily a good person. Sorry, I'm looking for my smartphone. I think the dog behind me, who you cannot see, is on it. That's where I have all my notes, so of course. But yeah, there's not... Oh, he's not on it. Okay, I was just blaming him for nothing. Sorry, Nixie. Anyway, so yeah, besides all that, yeah, I mean, so going back to the theme, the major theme of the movie for me was magic versus technology. I mean, it's interesting. Everybody in the Empire seems to either disbelieve in, thinks of the Force as a type of religion, and so does Han Solo, actually. But everyone in the Rebel Alliance seems to treat the Force seriously. I don't think they're fully knowledgeable about it, because when, for example, Luke shuts off his navigator, his computer navigator, they're confused, and they don't understand why he's abdicated technology. Because that's how they make sense of the world, right? They don't know how to make sense of the world through the Force, because they're not Force users or Force holders, whatever you call it. So I think they are aware of the Force, and I think they use it like a catchphrase. I think that has to do with like Leia and her upbringing, and also like Ben, knowing Obi-Wan and stuff like that. But I don't think they have like a very firm grasp on like what the Force is or what it even means. And I mean, the film doesn't really talk about what the Force is. It's just kind of this all-present energy that's always around us, and some people are able to tap into it, and some people aren't. It's kind of like, I guess, key in the Dragon Ball Z universe. Also, speaking of the Dragon Ball Z universe, something I found very funny is, I don't know if Akira Toriyama, I almost forgot his name. I don't know if the creator of Dragon Ball Z, or Dragon Ball rather, was channeling this, but it's interesting to note that C-3PO and R2-D2, when they went into the escape pod, and the Empire is looking at the escape pod, and they're like, there's no sign of life forms there, so let it go. Same thing happens in Dragon Ball when one of the escape pods comes out of Namek, and Frieza's like, nope, just let it go, or Cooler's like, let it go. I can't remember who. Let it go. No, we're not going there. But anyway, they don't have any powerful reading or whatever, and it's highlighted a few times. I think I don't remember if this was Frieza's mess up or Cooler's. I think it was Cooler's, excuse me. Because he's the one who, in his movie, sort of like remembers as he's flying into the freaking sun via Kamehameha wave that Goku was the one who he let go. So, anyway, bit of a tangent, but I thought that was very funny. The version I watched did have some special effects. There's this one part, it's kind of infamous. Well, there are a few parts that are infamous. I mean, this is Star Wars. But I'm not sure like how far down the rabbit hole this special edition is. It didn't look too bad. There are a few things. I mean, like one part you have this like large creature that's basically just blocking the whole camera, and it's like, get the fuck out of the way of the camera. Yeah, and Stormtrooper aim is as bad as people say. I mean, there's just parts where Stormtroopers clearly should have been able to shoot them and kill them. So, yeah. And again, going back to the magic versus technology, sorry, I can't stick with it too much. But there's a lot to say about the movie, even though I don't have like a concentrated narrative here. Yeah, I mean, basically no one believes Vader, or they believe him insofar as he exists, but they don't think anything else is out there. And it's interesting because The Force Awakens, which I keep want to call it The Force Unleashed, but that was a video game. I actually like Awakened better than Unleashed, but whatever, more subtle. No one really believes Vader except like his higher ups and stuff like that, and Stormtroopers never really interact with him. But I lost my train of thought. Damn. But my point is just that there's this interesting dynamic between the Rebel Alliance and the Empire. That one seems to be, because they say before they blow up the Death Star, may the Force be with you. So I don't know how deeply they believe in it, but they at least have the spirit of it. The spirit seems to be kind of dead on the Empire, though they don't really seem to have much of a proverbial soul, I suppose, blowing up a planet. Also, love the Tarkin principle. If you aren't familiar with the Tarkin principle, it's basically based on um, uh, Leia's sort of thing, where she says, the tighter you hold your grip in the universe. I'm heavily paraphrasing. The tighter you grip, the more it'll fall through your fingers. Which is I think a great lesson for authoritarian regimes. Um, so let's see. I'm looking at my notes. Um, I think there was an interesting dynamic between Uncle Owen and Luke that I didn't notice when I was younger. I grew up on Star Wars, watching the three VHS special edition set. I think it was special edition, but it had very minimal special edition. This was back in very minimal special effects. Excuse me. I think this was back in the '90s or something when it came out. But it was a $3 set. It was golden, and it was terrific. I watched it over and over and over, and I could probably go back and watch Star Wars again right now, maybe tomorrow. I don't know. I could probably watch it again. I mean, I love Star Wars. This isn't really so much a formal review because I love Star Wars, so I'm not really reviewing it saying, well, here's my critique of Star Wars. No, I don't have a critique of Star Wars. I fucking love Star Wars. This is not going to be me critiquing Star Wars. This is just going to be me fanboying about it because I love Star Wars. So, and I'm very excited for the movie. So this is kind of me, if you haven't figured it out, leading up to Star Wars. So yeah, one thing that was also funny was when Obi-Wan said only stormtroopers could be so precise, or whatever exactly he said. I don't think he said stormtroopers, but I was like, but stormtroopers aren't very precise. Maybe sand troopers are more precise for some fucking reason. I don't know. I've been watching a lot of Jessica Jones, so it was kind of hard for me to not see the Force as like another form of Kilgrave. Um, which is kind of funny, like the Force as a kind of disease or something, that eventually you can, like, your body can fight off after 12 hours or something. But yeah, obviously that's not exactly how the Force works, but it's a more scientific sort of thing, but it doesn't really work. The cantina scene was very funny for me. Noticing just the blatant racism against droids, and it wasn't really explained why the cantina was just kind of outwardly like racist. Well, I don't know. Are droids considered a race? I don't know, but at any rate, yeah, blatantly like droidist, I guess, or racist or whatever against the droids, just not letting them in, just saying we don't want their kind in there. I have no idea what that's about. In the version I had, I'm not clear on who shot first with Greedo and Han. It's not eminently clear to me if one shot before the other. Sorry about my glass and the reflection. This is just going to be a repeating thing until I get a external webcam, I suppose. There did seem to be sort of an emotions thing with the Force. The Force is mostly about your emotions. It's not about reason or a good blaster at your side, as Han would say. It's very in tune with sort of the emotional and spiritual, I guess, if you will. So I thought that was interesting. I don't have too much to say about it because they don't really go too much into it. But there was a few like little nitpicks I have of the film, which is ridiculous. But just two little funny things I noticed. How did no one hear the blaster shots in the docking bay when they get into the Death Star, or not the Death Star, the hub of Darth Vader? I don't know exactly what it's called, but the "that's no moon" thing. How did they shoot those things in the ship and no one hear it? Like, it's a pretty open like docking bay. Now, I mean, you could say, well, they still checked the outposts to see if like nobody was there, but I don't know, it's weird. Um, and so the other thing was, how did they know where the control room was? They just seemed to kind of stroll in and find it. I think it was highly visible from where they were in the docking bay, so that's what I'm going to chalk that up to. Um, I love there's a few scenes that happen there that I just really love. The best scene of all time is, of course, in my opinion, when Han just goes after like 5 different stormtroopers and they all run away for some reason. And then like he just there's just a whole army of them, and they start blasting at him, and somehow don't hit him, and he just starts running away the other way, yelling, and it's really one of the best scenes of all time. It makes no goddamn sense, but it's lovely. So it's just one of my favorite scenes. I don't know how the stormtroopers got in when Luke and Leia are trying to get away from them and get back to Han and Chewie. When they have that whole like kiss on the cheek thing, which is weird in retrospect because they turn out to be related. But I will try not to too heavily rest on that. Some people have criticized the fight between Obi-Wan and Vader because it's a little wimpy, I guess, in some people's phrasing compared to the prequels. I mean, number one, fuck the prequels. The fighting in the prequels, with the exception of Darth Maul, was just horrendous. I mean, Yoda versus Dooku was just terrible. It was so unrealistic. It was just Yoda jumping around every 5 seconds. I know I said I wasn't going to talk about the prequels, but I have to make a comparison here for the sake of rebuttal. Most of the other things were overplayed, overshotty, way too long. I mean, the fight between Anakin and Obi-Wan is just ridiculous in its length. It's like 15 minutes long or something, or I don't even remember how long it is. Red Letter Media talks about it. It's a ridiculous length. So yeah, I think this is a much better fight. It's even tempered. They're clearly like I don't know who's holding back. It's clear somebody's holding back. Maybe the production team, right? But am I right, guys? Am I right? Okay. Anyway, yeah, I don't know. It's not clear to me if someone's holding back or that's just what they had to work with. But either way, cough. Sorry, I'm still getting over a cold. Either way, I like it. I mean, it feels like an evenly keeled fight. It's not overly produced. I don't have anything against special effects. I don't think there's anything wrong with trying to balance special effects and prosthetics or whatever, costumes and makeup and stuff like that. But I like it. I mean, it's smart, it's fast, it's practical, it's easygoing. I think it's a great fight. Is it the best Star Wars fight? No, but I think it's fine. I think it gets what it's supposed to get accomplished. So it's good enough for me. One of the themes throughout the film is kind of the small, decentralized batch of rebels versus this huge empire. I mean, that trope has been blown to pieces before then and since then, of course. But I still love it. I mean, it's handled beautifully. I mean, it does kind of make sense that the Goliath is going to underestimate the David, and you're just going to have a small group of tactical people who are just going to come in there and shoot the exhaust port or whatever the fuck it was. I mean, God, how stupid was that? That's my other nitpick, and it's kind of a plot issue. Man, what was the Empire thinking? Like, I know everyone's already said this, so I'm not saying anything new here. But man, who thought that was a good idea? Who thought that was a good idea? Jesus. I mean, I understand underestimating your enemy, but goddamn, that's so stupid. Speaking of stupid things, calling a fat person Porkins as their nickname, like, I'm sorry, that's just shitty. So, yeah, and I guess a few closing remarks. The hero of the film, honestly, isn't even Han or Luke or Leia. It's that fucking stormtrooper in the end, and Crack.com has said this, so I can't really take credit for this idea, but the stormtrooper at the end, who, like, for no reason says, look out, and then moves to the left. I mean, I guess he's trying to go away from the Millennium Falcon, but I don't know, he just kind of jerks himself to the left, bumps into Darth Vader. Like, was he trying to save him? It's not entirely clear what he was doing. But yeah, he basically saved Luke and God only knows what would have happened. So yeah, the real hero of the story, everybody, is that stormtrooper. Still pissed that Chewie didn't get a medal for some fucking reason. Why didn't Chewie get a medal? This has also been pointed out. Again, some of the stuff I'm going to rehash, but Chewie never got a medal, which was bullshit, because Chewie did a lot too. I mean, he was taken captive and stuff like that for the rebels. So anyway, that's most of my thoughts of the film. Like I said, I thought I'd go on for an hour or something, but there's not much to say about it. It's a terrific film, and I don't have a lot to criticize. I have nitpicks here and there, but all those nitpicks have already been said elsewhere and better. But I love the goddamn film. If you, for some reason, haven't seen Star Wars: A New Hope, if you're like 10 or something, go see it. Hell, if you're 3, go see it. Um, so yeah, I'll be back next Friday with Empire Strikes Back, and then the Friday after that with Return of the Jedi. So I'll see you then.